Street in Pleasanton. While our nation mourns his passing at the age of 85, the loss is particularly felt in the Tri-Valley community we share. Whether you were from an older generation of fans that simply knew him as Coach, my generation of fans that connected with him as John, from his years in the broadcast booth, hosting SNL and starring in commercials, or the younger generation who simply knew him as Madden from the video game, it can be stated that few, if any, individuals have had a greater impact on football and popular culture in the last 50 years. It is rare to find someone who connected with so many generations over so many different mediums. In fact, New England Patriots head coach Bill Belichick recently marveled at his success at coaching, broadcasting, commercials, video game planning, and real estate, stating that while most of us make an impact with one successful professional career, John Madden had 5 of them. It doesn't appear that Coach Belichick was aware of Madden's proficiency as a restaurant owner, grape grower, and almond farmer. So for those scoring at home, that's actually, boom, 8 successful careers that John Madden had. Yet, in the end, as NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell stated, Madden was football. That was his passion. And simply put, John Madden made football in the NFL what it is today. Hired by the Oakland Raiders in 1969 at the age of 32 as the league's youngest coach, Madden was on the sidelines during a transformational time in the NFL. He posted a 103, 32, and 7 regular season record, which is still the highest winning percentage for a coach with 100 or more games coached in NFL history. Despite their reputation as free-spirited renegades, Madden's teams never had a losing season in his 10 years at the helm, and he led them to a Super Bowl victory in 1977. Beyond the numbers, many of Madden's games actually have names. Whether it was the Immaculate Reception, Ghost to the Post, Sea of Hands, Holy Roller, never has one coach been involved with so many instant classics of a golden era of football. Madden never hid his emotions on the sidelines and is featured in many of the game's lasting images. After retiring from football in 1978, Madden quickly became one of the greatest ambassadors the sport of football has ever known. He moved to the broadcast booth to become the most popular commentator in all of professional sports. Madden would describe his teaming with his longtime broadcast partner, Pat Summerall, like the day that peanut butter met jelly. He won 16 Emmys sharing his insights, humor, and love for the game of football while working for every major network. He also lent his name to the popular football game, Madden NFL, which ranks among the most top-selling titles of all time. During that time, it would be hard to argue that any person did more for the growth of the popularity of football. Players and fans knew that if Madden was calling their game, it was the biggest and best game of the week. Madden's enthusiasm for football through the television set inspired passion, while his voice also literally taught the game of football to millions of kids through their video game controller. Despite many of the other descriptors of John Madden, one that I like to use is teacher, because I don't feel that anybody has taught the game of football to more people over the years in his capacity as coach, broadcaster, and video game producer than John Madden. Yet Madden was that rare communicator who was both a teacher and an entertainer. He innovated both the telestrator and the yellow line to gain for first downs that is standard for every broadcast today. Madden also educated audiences about the intricacies of football and communicated in a straightforward manner the plain language that everyone could easily understand. He never overcomplicated things, but his analysis touched the football novice as much as the diehard fan, just the same. He was truly authentic. And I can tell you, what you saw on TV is what you would see in real life. Like any great teacher, Madden was in a never-ending quest to learn about his subject and to perfect his craft. Whether it was analyzing freshman football games that his son coached at Foothill High School, watching game film, attending his grandson's practices, talking to coaches, Facilitating production meetings, his preparation was unparalleled. And he had a lot of time to prepare as he traveled the country to and from games, coast to coast, first on Amtrak trains and later the Madden Cruiser bus. John Madden loved people, and the people loved John Madden. John Madden stopped throughout 48 of the continental United States at a number of diners, drive-ins, and dives before that was even a TV show. And he shared his story in countless meals with hundreds and thousands of Americans. And speaking of meals, Madden became a part of every American family's Thanksgiving tradition as he broadcast a game every year from 1980 to 2009 and literally termed the meal turducken, a combination of turkey stuffed with duck stuffed with chicken. Even as his health declined in recent years, he would still raise money at home to support high school football programs throughout his hometown region of the Tri-Valley, as well as various local charities through the annual Madden Mariucci Bocce Tournament. He also continued to advocate for measures to increase safety in the game of football that he loves so much, with a focus on youth football. So whether you talk about his coaching career, his broadcasting career, video games, or various commercials, his greatest legacy to those who knew him was that he achieved national fame, but remained one of us. And he stated at his Pro Football Hall of Fame induction in 2006 that he never worked a day in his life and that he is one of the luckiest men alive. But the lucky ones are all of us who had the privilege of laughing, learning, and sharing his passions for football and life. The first time I met John Madden was about 10 years ago, and we were at a barbecue in a friend's backyard, and he said to me, "Eric, things are pretty screwed up back there in Congress." And he didn't use the word screwed. And I looked at him and I said, "Coach, I'll try and do better." And he said, "Do better. Just try and find the deals." Things have been pretty tense around this place over the last 10 years. But I'm happy that I'm about to yield right now to my friend Rodney Davis of Illinois, a Raiders fan. And Coach, I don't know how many deals we can find right now, but Rodney and I have a deal today that we think you're the greatest. We think you've inspired millions, and the game of football in the country's better because you coached it and you taught all of us. And with that, I yield to my friend, my Republican friend from Illinois, Rodney Davis.
Well, thank you to my friend and colleague from California. It was 10 years ago. We all came in as brand new freshmen. And one of the first questions I asked any of my colleagues from the state of California when I got here is, "Are you a Raider fan?" Today we're all Raiders fans. But just so everybody knows, he's a 49er fan. That's okay. But as my friend says, there's a lot of disagreement in this place. I mean, heck, he and I don't agree on a lot of issues that are coming in front of this institution during this week or the upcoming weeks or frankly the past few years. But you know what? We're all here together to celebrate the life of a man who had an impact on all of us in this great nation, especially on a young Raiders fan who became that Raiders fan when I lived in the state of Iowa. And anyone who's known me as I've been growing up knows that there's only one football team that I root for, and that is the Oakland Raiders, then the Los Angeles Raiders, then the Oakland Raiders, and now the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, John Madden, most people in this country know as that broadcaster. I mean, this is the guy who actually broadcast professional football games on every single television network. I mean, what a feat that is. People knew him for being afraid to fly and driving a bus, talking about food and writing the little scribbler pen on the screen. But what they don't know about John Madden is that his life was football before he became that broadcaster. He helped make my life about football because one day on January 9th of 1977, my family, as I was 7 years old, we sat down to watch the Super Bowl. It was the first football game I ever watched in my life. Now, many people that know me are not going to be surprised by this. Everybody else in my house was rooting for the Vikings, so I had to be obstinate and say, I guess I'm going to root for the Raiders. And what I saw that game was something that I still have never forgotten. And to be able to see, I didn't know who John Madden was, but I learned about what he meant to that team. All I knew was there was a great team led by a great quarterback, Ken Stabler, who John Madden allowed to call his own plays. I mean, can you imagine that in today's day and age, allowing the quarterback to call their own plays? I mean, Bill Belichick probably is having a seizure right now thinking about that. There's no way they're going to let people call their own plays. But John Madden believed in his players. And those players believed in him. And they went out there and they did their job that day. And I was hooked. Watching Jack Tatum knock Sammy White's helmet off and an incomplete pass, I knew when I got to play football, I had to play defensive back. That was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And ever since that day, there were Raider shirts, Raider pajamas, Raider helmets. I actually still have my first one that I used to use in grade school, and it still has number 30 on the back because my hero growing up was Mark Van Egan, the fullback for the Raiders. Now, my good friend and colleague Burgess Owens, who played on the next Super Bowl team, not for Coach Madden, but for Coach Flores, he actually has promised me a chance to meet Mr. Van Egan, so I'm going to take him up on that. But to hear Burgess talk about the stories of being a Raider, it's what John Madden and Al Davis and the Davis family built and the entire Raiders organization built that made players want to come to Oakland and be a part of that winning atmosphere. John Madden helped create that winning atmosphere. Players like Ken Stabler and Mark Van Egan and Burgess Owens and Jack Tatum and George Atkinson, Otis Sistrunk, Dave Casper, Fred Biletnikoff, Cliff Branch, you name it, they were there and they created that atmosphere. But they needed a leader. And that leader in the 1976 season, leading up to January 9th of 77, was none other than John Madden. A great coach, a Hall of Famer. And from what I hear, because I never had the great chance to meet him, just a great person. And as time has worn on, I've gotten to know people in the Raiders organization, and they epitomize the same values John Madden did. And when you look at what's happening right now with the leadership of Mark Davis, president of the team, Dan Ventrelli, my good friend, and so many others, they're taking that same John Madden attitude, and we saw what happened on Sunday when they willed themselves through great players and great leadership into the playoffs. I know John Madden's family lit the flame that day in honor of Al Davis, and that flame was also lit that day in honor of John Madden. And I'm so glad the Raiders had a victory. And I wish them well. Go Raiders this week, beat the Bengals, and let's never forget the impact of John Madden, and I yield back.
Well, I thank my friend from Illinois for that very personal tribute. I grew up the only 49ers fan in an all Raiders household, so there was a lot of influence there on me, and rightfully so. And yes, of course.
Weren't the Raider fans Republicans too?
all A's fans, and I was the only Giants fan in an all A's household, only 49ers fan in an all Raiders household, only Democrat in an all Republican household. So outnumbered in every way. But my mom and dad loved John Madden the way that you just described him because of what he taught all of us. And I thank the gentleman for coming down with this helmet. And I think we're both rooting for a Raiders win this weekend. So thank you, pal. I'm going to yield to my colleague from Central Valley, who I believe, and he'll tell us, Mr. Madden had almond orchards in his district, and that's to Jim Costa.
Well, thank you very much. My good friend and colleague, Eric Swalwell, and Rodney Davis, and Jerry McNerney. I think we're all here to celebrate a life well lived. And Coach John Madden, who had such an extraordinary career in so many different areas, really, I think, reflected with all of that fame and all of that success, a common touch that we honor today. Now, I don't think there's anything difficult about being a Raider fan from California, and being a 49er fan, because the Raiders played in the AFC and the 49ers played in the NFC, and I think we've had a good run here for many decades here because of those two incredible franchises. And one could be said the same with the San Francisco Giants and the Los Angeles and the Oakland A's. But John Madden, as a kid, was a hero of mine. He, actually started in a very humble way playing at Cal Poly. Cal Poly's program was a smaller collegiate program in those days, and sadly there was a plane crash in 1961 that took place, and Madden was able to avoid that disaster, and I think that probably brought upon his fear of flying for the rest of his life. But he never forgot Cal Poly, and he continued to support the university as he supported so many worthwhile causes, whether it was athletics in Pleasanton and the East Bay, or whether it was other important efforts. And as you noted, no one has, I don't know whether his record will ever be topped, with 103 victories, 32 losses, and seven ties, regular season record, and the youngest coach to win a Super Bowl. What a lot of people don't realize, unless you're from California, is the San Joaquin Valley that I represent, I've had the honor and privilege, has always been a large group of Raider Nation fans there. And a combination of efforts. Tom Flores, who born in Fresno, raised in Sanger, first Hispanic quarterback in the NFL, who was succeeded by Darryl LaMonica, who was at Clovis, and was quarterback for the Raiders. And I think the Raiders have something that they really focus on, and they want their quarterbacks from the Valley, because Derek Carr is Fresno State guy, and of course plays that great victory Sunday, and we hope that continues through the postseason. But I was talking to Coach Flores, who was just inducted into the Hall of Fame, long overdue. Coach Flores is a Valley guy, but after he quit, after he retired as quarterback, he came back to the Raiders and coached as an assistant coach with Tom Flores. And he talks about what kind of atmosphere that Coach Madden had in the Raiders organization, and that the players loved him. And he says, when you have assistant coaches, you have rivalries, and you have coaches that want to then move on to become their own head coach. But he said that Madden had a great way, and they would argue sometimes in difference on a game plan. But he said, in his opinion, Coach Flores said that Coach Madden, as over the years, decades that he played in the NFL and coached, that was a great game day coach. In other words, the players not only trusted and had faith in him, but when they developed the plan to go out on that field on that Sunday afternoon, as the dynamics were changing and shifting, Madden's focus on the ability to be flexible and to make those adjustments were a large degree of his success as a head coach. And from one Hall of Fame head coach to another Hall of Fame head coach, I think that's an incredible compliment, and it reflects both on Coach Tom Flores and Coach John Madden. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the person that I think a lot of people know today, and that is Coach Madden, the man with the common touch. He, in his multitude of successes, got involved in Valley agriculture and got to know a number of my good friends in Merced, in the area where he farmed grapes and almonds. Dan Fialo and a lot of the folks there used to love to get together with Coach Madden, as well as with Dominic Mercurio from Cafe Feeney on Fisherman's Wharf in Monterey. What did these gentlemen all have in common? I mean, first of all, Coach Madden was a guy you'd be attracted to because of his larger-than-life personality. But they loved the common touch. They loved the ability to grow things that people could consume, whether it be almonds or whether it be grapes, and the appreciation of the hard work it took to put that food on America's dinner table every night. And so the love of food that also people who understood Coach Madden was really in part and parcel with his friends. There was a card game for 27 years that Dominic Mauricio and Dan Fiallo and others participated in. A legendary card game, apparently, that one could only hope to be a part of. And of course, both Danny and Dominic, who love to cook and who are great barbecue expressionaires, and the fact that Coach Madden would hang out at Cafe Feeney, where he first got to know Dominic, for his legendary chowder, which developed into a regular fixture. And so when Coach Madden was inducted in 2006, he asked restaurateur Dominic Mercurio of Cafe Feeney, Danny Fiallo and their team if these folks would come back and do the barbecue. Now, I mean, you get thousands of people for the Hall of Fame induction in August, but Madden had his plan, and they fed over 500 people. And Coach says, look, we're going to do it this way, okay? He's given instructions. Everybody who comes, you know, whatever they're going to eat, they're going to have a multitude of foods. There's got to be enough for everybody, whether you want chicken, you want brisket, whether you want sausages, whatever. And what they did is after they fed everybody, they had an abundance of food left over that they gave to the charities, to the churches. But that's what Coach Madden did and all of the things that he was a part of. If there was stuff left over, you give it back to other people who need it most. And I think that there are a lot of reasons why we honor Coach Madden here today, his incredible celebrated career. But the common touch, the fact that he could be in, whether it be in Los Banos, California, or in, you know, in the upper crust, one might say, of Carmel, by the beach, he was still the same person. He was Coach John Madden, who you'd love to have breakfast with or lunch, talk about football, but talk about other things that were important to communities and neighborhoods, as he related to you in terms of as a representative. So I am honored today to celebrate the life of an American who made a difference. He made a difference in so many different ways, and he touched so many people in so many different ways, because he knew people and he liked people, and that was evident in terms of any capacity that you ever came across John Madden with. So we celebrate that larger-than-life legend today. We see him as a role model who impacted people throughout California and throughout not only the professional football league and other professional sports, but his understanding of collegiate sports, because he came from that, and the understanding of making changes and protecting collegiate athletics was something that John Madden knew well of. So I thank Congressmember Eric Swalwell for allowing me to give my own thoughts about a person who I will remember, and I can only close by saying one thing. Coach Madden, God bless you. Thank you for all that you've done. Go Raiders.
Madam Speaker, I now yield to my colleague from the Bay Area who represented Coach Madden for many years before redistricting changed the districts in 2012. And that's my neighbor and friend, Jerry McNerney.
Well, I thank my friend Eric Swalwell for allowing me to speak today. And Madam Speaker, I rise and join my colleagues in honoring the late Pro Football Hall of Fame inductee John Madden. John Madden was a giant in the world of football who brought an appreciation and an understanding of the game into the homes of Americans. Selected in the 21st round of the 1958 NFL Draft, Madden suffered a severe knee injury during his rookie training camp, ending his pro football playing career when it was just getting started. Undeterred by his injuries, Madden's love for the game of football propelled him to pursue a coaching career. In 1969, he was hired as the head coach for the Oakland Raiders, making him the youngest head coach in the NFL with only 1 year of coaching experience. Now, somebody saw something to promote him to head coach in just 1 year of coaching. As head coach, he amassed an incredible record of 103 regular season victories with only 32 losses in 10 seasons. That gave him the second highest winning percentage for NFL coaches. Madden's ferocious will to win would not be denied in Super Bowl 11 when the first Super Bowl championship for the silver and black. While already a legendary Hall of Fame as a head coach, John Madden cemented his legacy as an icon for the sport from the broadcasting booth, becoming the first sports analyst to have worked all 4 of the big 4 U.S. networks and earning an incredible 16 Emmy Awards. With a career in professional football spanning 4 decades, very few have transcended generations the way John Madden has, and his legacy will live on forever in the memories of players, fans, friends, and through the memories made by millions who played the best-selling Madden MFL football game. On a personal note, I have the privilege of meeting John Madden, and yes, he was kind, he was personable, and it's true, we all ate very well that day. Not everyone gets to make a difference to so many people in this life, and John Madden was one of those people. Thank you, Eric, and I yield back.
I thank my colleague from the Bay Area, and Madam Speaker, I'll just close that it's very evident from the tribute today across the aisle and across California that we grieve Coach Madden's loss, but we have all tremendously benefited as a country because he coached and because he so humbly coached and because when he interacted with everyday Americans, he treated everyone with respect and he treated everyone the same. So to the Madden family, we grieve with you, and to Coach, rest in peace to a great coach. I yield back.
Thank you. Under the Speaker's announced policy of January 4th, 2021, the gentlewoman from Washington, Miss Lawrence Rogers, McMorris Rogers, my apologies, is recognized for 60 minutes as the designee of the minority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days to revise and extend their remarks and submit extraneous materials.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to offer a resolution. I do not offer this resolution on my own behalf. I offer it as a representative of the people of the United States to formalize the unspoken sentiments and concerns that abound in our nation right now. Any authority I have is given to me by the people. And this is what we believe. Our nation is unique. It is distinctive, exceptional. American exceptionalism is too often misunderstood to mean something that it is not. It does not mean justification to dominate or condescend to other nations, or indulgence flattery to ourselves that we are better. It does not mean that we are a chosen people, or that circumstances give us privilege to circumvent law. Our nation is bound by the same universal moral principles that must bind and shape the behaviors of all civilized nations. In this regard, we are all the same as nations. And yet we are different, very different, in a very important way. It is not wealth or military power that makes us exceptional. It is not our institutions, nor the genius of our written Constitution or our Bill of Rights. Not directly. These are manifestations of something more fundamental and profound. Our exceptionalism is based on something else, a singular belief, a proposition, you might call it, a proposition underlying all legal and constitutional beliefs, are assertions of human equality and unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the right to pursue happiness, the right to find meaning and purpose and value in our individual lives, derives from a single assertion that life given to us by Creator God is the moral basis of the unshakable bedrock of our republic. That proposition, the thing that makes us distinctive, is that we believe a Creator God endowed us with rights. Not just us, everybody, everywhere. It is a gigantic, revolutionary belief. And it is a belief. It is our faith statement. It is what speaks to the soul of our nation. There are many great and ancient nations that believe in freedom as we do. Most countries in the world claim the rule of law and have written constitutions. Many of us use language of rights and equality and declare for human dignity, but none have a coherent basis for doing so. We alone occupy that space. God gave us rights, made us in his image, and therefore demonstrated all human beings are created equal, even the unborn. From conception, the poor, the infirm, the old, the weak, all colors and kinds, all races, all of us are endowed by the Creator equally because we are made in his image. Without this fundamental belief, rights become only social protocol, conventions, historic inheritances, creatures of state citizenship, class, identity, and features of consensus. They become malleable and fading creatures in the capricious hands of willful men. But America is different. God endowed us with rights, and that belief is either true or it is false.